Kenya, as we said, is making a concerted effort at aquaculture, modeling your experiences on what's happened in Indonesia. Just please tell us more a little bit about the project.
Basically, the project is going to map the different fish ponds that are going to be established in the constituencies. We have over 140 constituencies, and the target is to come up with at least 100 fish ponds per constituency, and those are very many fish ponds. So to monitor them manually is going to be difficult with the expertise that we have. So what we're trying to come up with is to come up with GPRS systems to monitor each and every fish pond, and they're all monitored from a central system with educated farmers who know how to use the systems. So from that, they're able to track the growth and the issues that each fish pond can have. So basically, that's the idea behind the project.
All right, the broader idea is that the government is trying to widen its agricultural mix by introducing fisheries as a significant component of what Kenya exports. Why is this important at this time?
This is important to boost the economy and to empower people in the villages, because we've been having different kinds of farming, and it's new in the society. So with this, farmers are able to incorporate new ideas, because the Ministry of Fisheries is also taking its time to educate people in the villages, and the youths are getting more job opportunities, and they're able to make money out of it. Instead of just going to fish in the lakes, they're able to farm the fish from their own land.
All right, now the Likwari Self-Help Group pilot project, obviously, as I said earlier on, designed to maximize the government's vision to grow the fisheries sector. The government's already invested about 1.12 billion shillings into this venture, broadly speaking. What sort of interventions have been made to try to support the process?
The few interventions that the government has made is to educate the people on how to run this pilot project. And apart from that, they're supporting them with experts who know this type of business. And apart from that, there is the marketing. What you're also planning to come up with is to be able to market these people, because not every supplier and seller knows where each and every fish pond is. So if you come up with a system where you're able to send a message to a website, which keeps on updating where these fish ponds are, where the stocks are ready, so the wholesalers are able to go online and see, and they just go with their trucks and buy directly from the farmers. So it cuts down the cost from both sides.
Now, Voices of Africa, obviously the organization you work for, is also integrally involved. You've installed computers that are linked to a GPRS, and that's helped many of the burgeoning fish farmers to monitor their fish stocks. Tell us how this technology is working in tandem with this broader vision.
For now, we are still having a pilot project. The initial step is to manually monitor it. They have information in such a way that a farmer will come from all sorts of directions to ask questions at the centers, and we have the information readily available. But since it's still a pilot project, what we are planning to do is to be able to monitor the changes that are happening in the fish ponds, see the progress of the fish. If there's any issue, they can physically monitor from the machines instead of going to the fields, because these are many fish ponds we are talking about. And from that, it helps them a lot. And apart from that, what Voices of Africa is also planning to do is to come up with an online website where it's constantly updated on each and every fish pond, where you can go and access fish that is ready. So instead of going to each and every fish pond, you just go to the website. You can see it's highlighted like such and such a fish pond is ready. You can go and take the fish as a wholesaler or as a buyer.
Right. Okay, it obviously
So
provides
it
some
helps.
sort of a database, but we're also told that it helps to monitor whether or not there are any threats to the existing fish stock. Without being too technical, can you explain to us what that means and why that's also very important?
Come again with the question?
I'm saying, other than providing a database, the technology helps you monitor whether there are any threats to the fish stock. And I'm talking here about things like turtles eating fingerlings, for instance, and how, you know, whether or not there's a depletion of the stock in some areas. Can you just tell us a little bit more about that?
Okay, the technology behind that, it will be GPS with camera that is satellite images. So when you sit on the system, you can actually see the fish ponds on your machine. But this is still a pilot that we are still planning to come up with. And farmers can see the changes all the time. They work in shifts. They themselves, they work in shifts to monitor all these changes.
Right.
So a farmer can ask a question from a remote area through a phone and say, how is the progress on my fish pond? And it'll be told, and he can be educated on how to go about it.
Okay, sounds...
Through GPRS satellite images.
All right, sounds really encouraging. Now, obviously, the government's poured out a lot of money in about 140 areas. So at some point, they need to see a recovery on their investment. But when you look at the case of Indonesia, upon which this project is being modeled, there was a problem once the government pulled out and withdrew its financing. A lot of these fishing projects were not sustainable because the smallholders just couldn't keep up the momentum on financing, of accessing markets and the like. What's being done to avert that kind of situation unfolding in Kenya?
The difference with our project is that all the farmers are educated on how to do these things on their own. So they are running it, they are being educated in such a way that if you look at the fishing industry here in Kenya, 2 years ago it was producing around 4,220 metric tons per year. But now it has increased to around 11 million tons a year. And the land that they're using, it's around 1.4 billion hectares of land. So it's growing significantly. And while it's growing with the technology incorporated in it, they're able to do these things on their own in such that even if the government has left them alone, they can still proceed with what they're doing. Even right now, they're monitoring the progress of the fish ponds, they themselves. So it's a steady increase in their productivity.
It's hoped that once this project takes off in the mainstream, we will start seeing fishing contribute about 4 billion shillings to the Kenyan economy per annum. How have they come up with these figures, the government? How can they be sure of that?
That's now from the Ministry of Fisheries. They're the ones who've done the research and they came up with the estimates, and it's actually 50 billion shillings per annum. They've done it according to the number of constituencies that we have. That's 140. If you multiply that by 100 fish ponds per constituency, it's a lot. And the amount that they can generate from each and every fish pond, they've multiplied that and come up with estimates, and it's around 50 billion shillings per annum. And that's just something which can grow with proper management and proper skills after farmers have been educated on how to manage their fish ponds.
Okay, that sounds fantastic. And finally, I mean, Kenya finds itself at a crossroads in terms of the so-called water wars with another 9 countries that are all wanting better access of the waters of the River Nile. But without focusing on that, I'm raising it as an issue because it does speak to the fact that water security is a major problem in the region. We know that, for instance, Kenya's been plagued frequently by drought, and that's affected electricity generation in the country. So as you embark on a fishing expedition, for lack of a better term, and trying to introduce fisheries into the mainstream, there's also got to be a way in which you ensure that water supply is consistent. Is this a major problem and a threat to this new project?
I'll say that in some areas, yes, it can be an issue, but not in all places. We can come up with better forms of, like example, we can drill boreholes. And to do that, we'll need government intervention. And I'm sure so many places, if you drill a hole, you can get water. So we have many channels of places to get water. And since borehole it's hard water. We can come up with different forms of treating this water. It can be pumped to the fish ponds, and it needs expertise in that, and that's where government, the Ministry of Fisheries has intervened by giving the community experts that will help them on how to strategically plan locations of where to dig a fish pond. So all those issues have been looked at.